Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it is the WNR315. It's NXT Halloween Havoc. But not only that, as we catch up on the goings down in NXT. And I have the pleasure of saying I've been joined by Mind of Monty Pod. It's great to have the show today. How have you been, man? You right?
I'm doing very good, James. Just making it through another week. Just happy to be here.
Well, it's great to have you on the WNR podcast. So, the last time you were on was the last NXT takeover. What have your thoughts been on NXT since then?
They've been doing pretty good. From what I like, I really have enjoyed NXT of the last few weeks. They've been doing a great job of building on storylines and leading us here. They have some tough competition now on Wednesday nights, so I think they're putting their best foot forward. Even though maybe it's certain nitpicky things I could say, but not really. I think they've been doing pretty good.
Yeah, I think without doubt. Well, let's have a look at last week's show quickly. It was October 21st. Kushida defeated the Velveteen Dream and Tommaso Ciampa. Ember Moon defeated Jesse Chimera. Bronson Reed defeated Austin Theory. Legado del Fantasma defeated Zaya Swerve Scott. Shante defeated Adonis and Jake Atlas. Everrise defeated Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Casey Cancelo defeated Zia Lee. And Tommy Thatcher defeated Anthony Green. And the big news was the Undisputed Era versus the NXT Tag Team Champions Breezango was supposed to take place. If you recall, Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong beat Birch and Lorcan in a number one contender match on the show previously. However, throughout the show, Fish and Strong were attacked. NXT General Manager William Regal held a backstage meeting with Kyle O'Reilly, telling him to book a title match because it was advertised, but O'Reilly decided not to go alone. Lorcan and Birch agreed to take their spots. As expected, this match was really, really good, and its finish saw a mystery man interfere that allowed Lorcan and Birch to win the NXT Tag Team titles. The post-match, Pat McAfee revealed himself as the mystery man. He mocked the Undisputed Era, and it looks like the feud with Adam Cole is continuing. What are your thoughts on Pat McAfee and a new tag team champions last week?
Oh man, I absolutely was pleasantly surprised. It was definitely a shock. The way they did it was definitely well executed. It made what Ridge Holland did at the end of the last takeover. That we made that make a lot of sense, which I think at Halloween Havoc, where we will get into more of that. But also, it's just a great thing because Danny Burch and Arnie Lorcan are guys, in my opinion, who've been not necessarily overlooked in NXT because they've had time, moments at times to showcase what they can do, especially in the ring. But they have so much more that they could bring, and I think they're perfect for this tag team title position. I wasn't expecting it to be in a heel way though, so it was definitely a great turn and effective. It's kind of cool also to see the Undisputed Era or Kyle O'Reilly in this point, or the whole Undisputed Era in general at this point because they have done all of the dastardly and sticking together and turning on people. They have done that, and now the shoe is on the other foot, and that's always a nice element to explore in pro wrestling.
Yeah, I think you're bang on there. Like I said, with Lorcan and Birch, maybe they need a little bit more personality, and I think Pat McAfee is going to add that. It's a great position to be in, and like I said, the Undisputed Era now as faces. But like I said, on to Havoc, and here's the card that was going to be spin the wheel, make the deal, and American title match, Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest. Another spin the wheel, make the deal, the NXT Women's title match, Candice LeRae and Io Shirai. Haunted House of Terror match, Cameron Grimes versus Dexter Lumis. Non-title match, Cruiserweight champ Santos Escobar versus Jake Atlas, Ray Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez, and of course our host was Shotzi Blackheart. Should this have been a takeover, and what were your expectations for the event before it started?
My expectations were high just based off the fact that they named it Halloween Havoc. I think even though it has been a while since the last Halloween Havoc has ever been aired or anything. I forgot what the exact number, but it's been a while since. I think it's one of those cult classic WCW brands that if you're a wrestling fan, especially a wrestling fan of the late '90s, or just WCW in general, you know about the Halloween Havoc brand. So I think they had to bring it based on that. Now, as far as the card being strong enough for a takeover, it definitely pales in comparison to like some of the stacked takeovers that we have experienced. I think it's definitely more of just a really, really exciting episode of NXT instead of being a takeover per se. But having the big championship match to start it off and to finish it definitely made this not your ordinary NXT show.
Yeah, I think without a shadow of a doubt. Well, we get a creepy intro, and then our host, Shotzi Blackheart, literally makes sparks fly from an electric chair by the wheel in what's supposed to be one of her 4 costume changes for the night. It's a Frankenstein get up to start. The thoughts on the intro, well, it's been 20 years, and what a way to set the tone for Halloween Havoc. I thought Shotzi was great, and the opening video was creepy, and what we did. The set I was impressed by, and I loved the orange ropes as well. What were your thoughts when you first saw the set of Halloween Havoc? Did you think, good, they've nailed this?
Yeah, I love the aesthetic. I think it did a really good job of capturing, like you said, that creepiness, the Halloween feel. And Shotzi was a perfect host. She set the tone, and every outfit change fit what she was doing at the time, and it made sense. I really think that they nailed her presentation while the pay-per-view or the show was going on. It was definitely great. I like the inflatable pumpkin that I think Johnny got rid of really quick, I think, if I remember it right. But I liked it. It was a nice touch. I know what they were going for, and I think also within the circumstances. Now, does it compare to some better sets you've seen? Probably not, but within the circumstances of being in the CWC, it being still us being in a pandemic, I think they did really good with this set.
I think without a shadow of a doubt. And we get on to the action. The first match was Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest for the North American title. How do we get here? Well, at least 2 men know each other very well. Priest won the North American title at TakeOver 30 and allowed a match involving Johnny and, of course, beat him at TakeOver 31. What are our thoughts on Hill Gargano, the story he's going with, and just trying to win both championships? And what are your thoughts on Damian Priest? Do you think he's improving as a good guy?
Definitely. I believe his presence, he feels more like a star. Like I think earlier when he was the Damian Priest character, he was definitely doing a good job of getting heat, but he didn't really feel special. It was the Baron Corbin comparison. I think since he's turned babyface, you're disrespecting him if you compare him to Baron Corbin. He's not that dry to me, or King Corbin. He's not that dry to me as King Corbin's character comes off as sometimes. I think he has shown in his look, and the entrance was beautiful for this match, and he just looked like a superstar. Like not only a rock star, but definitely like he looked like somebody that WWE can put on some of their bigger stages and bigger set pieces in the future. I think he's definitely coming to his own since turning babyface.
Well, I was about to say the entrances were absolute fire, weren't they? Priest looked like a star. I am going to take the words out of your mouth. The whole presentation, we get a live Axeman playing the Archer of Infamy in for the first match. I wasn't too sure about the pumpkin. It wasn't maybe as well made as WWE ones. And then, like you said, as soon as Johnny came out and popped it, I thought, they're saving expense then. Johnny,
yeah, they went a little cheap.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it pays the bills. You don't want to spend too much. Well, Johnny was dressed as Beetlejuice, and we had Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal. Shotzi spins it, and it's a Devil's Playground match, which is no DQ, pinfalls count anywhere. And we get onto the action. Gargano fights his way free, takes out the champ's knee, and sends him into the ring steps. The challenger goes under the ring, grabs a kendo stick. By the time he gets to Priest, the Archer has his nightstick. They swing on each other as we go to an ab break. Well, it's picture in picture, but unfortunately in the UK, it is just an ab break. Back. Priest stumbles back to the ring where he gets his nightstick back and blasts Johnny with it on the apron. The champ hits South of Heaven, but Gargano kicks out. They're back to the outside where Johnny counters an attempt to send him into the fence plexiglass. Then he hits a slice of bread on the steps. Now, we know Damian Priest has got history on those stairs, don't we?
Oh, man. Painful history.
Imagine,
man, I don't, tough, man. That's all I got to say. Tougher than me. Those a couple of bumps that I don't know if I would agree to take.
Well, it was like we had that, and Priest managed to get the shoulder up after the pinfall attempt. He then comes back and slams Gargano on the announce table with the broken arrow, which the announce table did not move on that one. They brought they brought through the graveyard, and when a skeleton pops out the coffin, Johnny super kicks it, which I think was really fun. He then uses the fire extinguisher and sends the champion to the loading bay door, slams a wheeled crate full of rubbish into him as we go to another break. When we return, the champion's in control, and Gargano's trying to escape the set. Johnny gets control, beats down Priest with a metal trash can, but takes a moment to yell at the wheel. Again, really, really nice moment. And then as he's on the stage, he sets up for the reckoning, but then someone in a Green Reaper costume appears with a steel bar. His attack puts Damien down, and Johnny uses the wheel to run up for a DDT. The Reaper's back and has a Gargano tombstone, which Johnny blasts the champ with, knocking him down to the floor. Johnny crawls in for the cover. 1, 2, 3. We have a new champion. I thought the closing sequence with Johnny, the way he interacted with the wheel, and the bump Priest took onto there looked like it killed him. I thought I was really, really impressed with the closing sequence.
Oh yeah, I agree. If it was one thing I knew, they did everything they could to make sure Priest lost in a strong way. Like, he definitely didn't look weak losing. Like, that was a crazy bump towards the end, and not only with the interference of, like you said, the Grim Reaper or whatever. It was just great. I really, really loved how this match. Johnny's obsession with the wheel and overall demeanor throughout this match is just hilarious and great. Like, he killed his role in this match. But I do have to say, what a nightmare this match was as a Damian Priest fan. Man, that ending was a nightmare for me. I was not ready for Priest reign to end. I will definitely say that.
It's a shame that it had to end. I mean, I think they're, again, with Gargano winning the title, he had to get a victory, I feel, because there's only once in a while you can get around and keep losing, if you know what I mean. I think we've seen that too many times. Exactly. A bit like Randy Orton with McIntyre, even though I don't agree with it. The same thing here. I think Priest is like you said, in this match, just come across as a complete star. Yes, Johnny was leading him throughout the match, but they have great chemistry. And I thought it was really fun around the arena. The only problem from my end was the fact that it kept going to, we had like 2 or 3 adverts during this match. And because I wasn't getting picture-in-picture, it kind of ruined the pace a little bit.
Okay. I get that.
But again, Johnny is a 2-time North American champion. Very, very enjoyable match. What would you rate that match out of 5? I know you're not happy with Priest losing.
Yeah, I wasn't happy. This is just my personal thing. Maybe it would have been closer to 5 stars if it didn't happen, but I'm not really the biggest fan of the interfering finishes. It has to make perfect sense to me, but I definitely still would give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I was definitely entertained. Honestly, for some of the bumps that they decided to inflict on each other, they deserve every star I give. Like, it was really good. It was a really good match. And but yeah, my complete star takeoff, like, maybe it's 5, but I wouldn't give it 5 based on the fact that the finish may have been overbooked.
Yeah, I mean, and also with this, they've got kind of pay it off in a way that keeps us happy, because if it's just even a no one or it doesn't make any sense, NXT's kind of kept with, even though with injuries and stuff, they kind of have like a long-term planning, whereas this kind of felt they've just chucked it in there because they wanted Priest, kind of distraction, because it was Halloween. If it ends up being like Ciampa, then great, that's part of the story, but it needs to pay off as well, I feel.
Exactly. The reveal has to make some type of sense, or you need to explain the relationship between the masked figure and Priest, or why would they cost him? Because if not, then it's going to really take away from the match.
Yeah, I think without doubt. I'm going to give that a 3 3/4 out of 5, only because, like I said, the adverts. If it didn't have adverts, then it would have been a 4, just like you. We then move on to our first clear shot of our in-house announcers, and Vic Joseph is dressed up as Waldo. He's pissed Wade Barrett isn't dressed because he's the one who wanted to do a costume contest. Barrett says he is a costume as his favourite WWE superstar. Bad news, Barrett, and afraid he's got some bad news. Vic looks like an idiot on global TV, and he just won the contest. I mean, Barrett has settled in so nicely, hasn't he, in NXT?
Oh, he fit perfectly. He fit right in his and I'm not trying to compare him and Nigel, but it just reminded, like, he seems so smooth at his job a lot that he reminds me of Nigel McGuinness's commentary because of how smooth and easy he would make it and witty. But yeah, I love it. He's settled in perfectly, and you can see some of that, Barrett personality that he had when in some of his runs in WWE. You can see it coming out in commentary. I think him and Vic work really well together so far.
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird pairing, but it actually does work really well. We then see highlights of last week's main event. We see Pat McAfee and the new tag team champions enter the building. We see Finn Balor getting a superstar profile, but no news about his title reign. What are your thoughts? I mean, because we know that the injury to Finn Balor is pretty bad. With what happened with Cross as well, do you think they need to strip Balor of the NXT title, or do you think they do the right thing for just leaving it for a little while?
Honestly, right now, I don't. I'm really on the fence. Since it's taken away from him, and it was a very serious injury. I don't see why not, but I also understand not wanting to do this all over again because they just went through it. If you see what I'm saying with Cross, so I kind of understand wanting to wait it out, but depending on how much longer Finn is going to have to, be out, what's the point? You might as well take it, so we can have an active champion on television. I'm always for getting the world champion around television, but, I understand this is a unique circumstance. And, I get why not wanting to strip him and, kind of do the whole, new champion thing all over again. I get it. It's such a quick turnaround. I understand not wanting to do it.
I think with War Games coming up, and I think maybe they can get away with it a little bit, not having a champion there. Yeah. But I think if it goes beyond that into the new year, maybe they'll think to themselves, this is what we'll do. We see Cameron Grimes nervously pacing. General Manager Winnie Regal comes up to him and tells him to head to the parking lot where a van is waiting to take him to his Haunted House of Terror match. Grimes is confused. The ring is in the CWC, and he thought Mr. Regal wants to have a match with Dexter Loomis. He doesn't want to go to the parking lot. It's the most dangerous place. Regal doesn't care and ushers him out to see his ride. Now, I'm going to talk a lot about Cameron Grimes because I've not been a huge fan of him, right? I don't know if it's the character. I don't know if it's just the way he is, but there's just something about him that's not worked. And I think tonight, or,
You're the first person I've heard say this. You're not the first person I've heard say this.
Yeah.
So keep going. I'm with you.
Well, but tonight, especially because the thing about this, especially this type of match, is you have to believe, you have to believe. And I think with Grimes, right, seeing him nervously going, oh, actually, I don't want to do it. And I think what we see for the rest of the night with him, you're on his journey through this kind of crazy ride. And in the end, I was kind of pulling for him a little bit, not any spoilers ahead or anything like that, but and I think I've not seen that, and I thought, do you know what, Grimes is actually doing quite a good job.
Yeah, see, I'm on the opposite end. He cracks me up constantly, because he was just he's so obliviously cocky that that's one thing I really love about his character. Is just how but he also seems to be self-aware enough to know how to take advantage of what he can do. At least that's my interpretation of his character so far. But you're not the first person I've heard say that, and I agree. A similar thing happened as you watch this, unique situation take place.
Well, speaking about Pat McAfee, he was on the mic in the ring. And of course, we know what happened last week on NXT with Danny Burch and Lane Lorcan, the tag team champions. He rags on the fans a bit and then launches into a slightly modified version of the promo, explaining his actions that we saw. He calls for mics for the Brit Am Brawlers, but he's interrupted by Kyle O'Reilly. And Kyle O'Reilly's alone since every other member of the era is injured, but O'Reilly brought back up. It's Pete Dunne, and they changed McAfee's guys to the apron with chairs, and the Bruiserweight blast. Dunne and the Brawlers beat down Kyle, and Pete breaks his fingers and stomps the elbow, then the champ lifts him up. McAfee sets a chair out, and they DDT on it, and Pat tells Cauliflower Kyle that is undisputed. What did you think of this segment?
Ooh. Oh man, this one definitely blew up my Twitter feed of the night that happened, man. I saw a lot of people having a lot of things to say, and most of it positive from what I saw. It's very, very exciting to have not only a new faction, to kind of go to kind of combat the Undisputed Era as a faction, but also just in general to have these guys in a faction. Like Pete is perfect. I've heard nothing but great things about his heel run and how and his heel character work. So I can't wait to get to see that weekly on NXT television. And again, like I told you, I love the fact that Pat McAfee is going to be kind of like the mouthpiece. He's very very good at he's very entertaining for someone who's not originally from the business. He's really really good on the mic. That's one, and obviously in his match with Adam Cole, he's capable in the ring too. So also I wanted to consider if Ridge Holland would be in this group. Now it didn't really seem like it the way Pat kind of talked about him, but would he be in this group post injury, depending on how long this group was to stay around? That's also an interesting addition. He can be the muscle of this group, and now you can maybe take this group potentially to go against Imperium or other. Like it's nice things. All it did was get my wrestling juices flowing, if you see what I'm saying. My mind was going at the possibilities of how good this possibly can be. So I loved it. I loved every second of it. And Pete Dunne looked great. I think that's also been on the internet a lot. And he deserves the credit. Whatever he did in quarantine he did the right thing. Perfect. It was perfect. Follow his example.
Yeah, I think without doubt. I mean, there's a lot of things to cover just with this one thing. First and foremost, we should hate Pat McAfee, but damn it, that was a good promo, and his association with Lorcan and Birch.
Great.
Yeah, it will only help him. And I loved it. He managed to explain the whole situation, which made sense. And it wasn't kind of dumb or anything like this. He said it in his own way where you kind of bought into it. You thought, yeah, that makes sense, actually. And like I said, Dunn is a guy, 700 days of NXT UK champion. We were lucky enough to see him defend that championship. And a heel Dunn is quite possibly just the scariest dude ever, because the joint manipulation, and he just doesn't stop. And Walter is a champion who's a kind of dominant champ, but Dunn, even for a guy his size, like you have to go back to like a Taz or someone like that back in the day. For when he came out as champion, you thought whoever the challenger was, he's going to make it. And I think, like I said, the association with Birch and Lorcan, and even if you get Holland in, and then you can push McAfee out as like the manager and actually have them as a foursome. Like you said, it just ticked every box, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it worked out perfectly. Like it definitely, like you said, I love the explanation. Also, like that's one thing that I will say to the WWE. Sometimes they'll lose you in the storytelling of the explanation of why certain things are happening. You don't really understand why this happened. This one, like you said, I have no questions about it. It made complete sense, and they all make sense together. That's also an important thing. Like, you just looking at them, this fits perfectly.
And not only that as well, but let's remember, Roderick Strong turned on Pete Dunne when they were a tag team to join the Undisputed Era. So if anybody questions why Pete Dunne done that, you've got 2 years of kind of story of saying he stewed on it, and now he's come back to make his point. And if it leads to a War Games match between McAfee's team and the Undisputed Era, then that's going to be fantastic.
It will be fantastic. And also, see, that's the only thing. That's probably the only thing. If I want to nitpick, my only problem would be is Kyle O'Reilly should have remembered that. Like, I don't understand why he thought Pete was completely on his side in that situation. That was the only thing. Like, he walked forward. He, for some reason, had a mind lapse and just thought Pete was just going to do the right thing, apparently. But, yes, Pete, in a storytelling sense, it made complete sense for Pete to turn on him at that moment, because it actually made more sense than it did for him to help.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, I think it was brilliant. We then head backstage, and Mr. Eagle sends Grimes outside. A van rolls up with a zombie in the passenger seat, and Michael P.S. Hayes, dressed in orange and black, in the back. The Freebird cuts a Bad Street USA promo on Grimes, then struts off, nudging Cameron into the van. Grimes says he hates rednecks as we head to a commercial. This was brilliant. At this moment, I'm having so much fun watching this program,
Oh, I agree. This is why if it's one thing that I will definitely say about it, and I'm not even the biggest Halloween person. I really don't. Like, the holiday is what it is, but it's just really not for me, honestly. But I was into this, and I was entertained at every moment. So they definitely wrapped me right around their finger.
Well, we'll move on to our next match, and it's Jake Atlas versus Santos Escobar. And how did we get it? Well, Santos has dominated the cruiserweight division. Atlas was the latest to try. What happened? Well, Escobar comes out in his Phantasma mask and Mysterio-inspired tights, and Joaquin Wilde and Ram Mendoza are with him. We've seen Seth Rollins' tribute to Rey Mysterio, but I think definitely this one, because I think it shows Mysterio's kind of size and history to go into different generations now. Like I said, Santos is one or two generations after, and it's inspired it. And I think this was a lovely tribute as well.
I agree. It was perfect. And I also think it fit. I loved it when Seth did it, but I loved it even more on Santos Escobar, because also you have to think about his character. His character is all about restoring, the legacy and the of luchador wrestling. So like of him paying homage to Rey Mysterio is even deeper than just Seth Rollins, kind of being petted because he was fighting Rey's son. Yeah. So that connection right there just makes it even better, and it was just perfect. I agree. That was a very nice thing to see, especially on a Halloween Havoc stage, which is where he debuted the purple Phantom gear. So yeah, it was great.
I just thought it was really, really cool. And then we get a quick kick at the bell that puts the cruiserweight champ in the driver's seat, running double knees in the corner as Escobar is just talking trash while kicking ass. That fires Jake up. He hits the cartwheel DDT, but Wild puts the champ's foot on the bottom. Jake with a tope that takes out Legado down Phantasma. He fights him, but Mendoza puts on the loaded lucha mask from a headbutt. This sends Atlas back in for the Phantom Driver. What were your thoughts on this match?
It was really, in my opinion, now you want to talk about an example that this was more of a television NXT. I think we both can agree that this wasn't dramatic or good enough to be on a takeover, in my opinion. Like his match with Isaiah Swerve Scott was a completely different style of drama and back and forth that this match was. This match was a little bit quicker and again, a simple premise of Jake Atlas just being outnumbered. So this felt more in line with it being a regular NXT episode match, and it established, like, it shows more dominance for Santos Escobar and his Legado, the group that he's in, but the match in quality wasn't anything special, and I gave it a 2.5 out of 5, basically just because it just seemed like something that I could see on any NXT episode.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. I think I'm going to have to give that a 2.5 out of 5. But there's no doubt Santos is really smooth. I like the character. There seems to be this confidence at the moment. We've seen it with kind of Andrade and others as well. Santos has honed his craft. He's come to WWE now. And like I said, if Legado del Fantasma are treated right, they can have a huge impact on NXT. But they need serious threats, and they need people to challenge. Like I said, the Swerve match was brilliant because it was a guy we thought actually could get the job done. We've got to build up the cruiserweight division in NXT, I think.
I agree 100%. I think if they, add more depth to the division or to the pool of worthy challengers, is only going to make them look better as they thwart them off with their tactics. Or also, this is another thing. He has the numbers advantage over everyone. So the more cruiserweights or possible contenders will also threaten the whole entire group more, because right now they're able to go 3-on-1 with almost whoever he's fighting. So again, a more fleshed out cruiserweight division will only improve the stories that can be told with Santos Escobar.
I think that. Quickly about Jake Atlas. What are your thoughts on the cartwheel DDT? Because I know a lot of people hate it. Me, myself, I'm not a huge fan of it. Yeah, it looks good, but I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just about to say it looks good, and I like I like the concept of it. It's not a bad finisher either. I can understand why people don't like it, but the thing that really gets me a lot of times is that it's now the cartwheel DDT. I thought the special part of a lot of the special thing that Jake Atlas had before he came to NXT was like he would call it the LGB DDT, which not that a name switch is gonna make people like the move. I'm just saying at least I like that little ode to something that was personal to him. That kind of helped more people relate to who he was. But at the same time, the move itself is probably just more, more like you said, great to look at. I wouldn't say it's the most impactful or the most, not the best finisher you could possibly have.
I think people
But
have, it's
different enough.
It's the positioning, I think, where, certain wrestler has to be in that position to take it. But then again, there's a few like anyway, and you can get through with a better setup, I think, in sometimes as well.
I agree. If he can find a way to set it up, it'll be better. And it just also reminds people too of like another finisher I hated, which was, I don't know, I think Alberto used it, especially in his second run. And this is when the guy basically has to hold himself up just to get stomped on in the corner, if you see what I mean.
Yeah,
it's kind of like you said, basically, you need the cooperation to do it. So, yeah, I understand the criticism of it. But it's a couple of moves probably should be eradicated for looking like they're helping you.
If we're doing that, then a leg drop and an elbow drop, as finishing moves.
Yeah, no more Spanish flies, guys. No more Spanish flies.
We get a video of Ember Moon talking about Dakota Kai's attack last week. She puts over Kai's development and says she has a sick kick, but she's not going to light the receipt. Blackheart's back and tells us the scares have just started. The Haunted House of Terror is next. And after a break, we see a Rivera-looking Shotzi kick to this night's cinematic match. So it's Grimes versus Loomis. How we got here? Well, this feud was started in a backstage segment when Grimes asked Loomis a question. Loomis just stared at him like a freak. This led to Grimes costing Loomis his shot for the NXT North American title. And Renee Regal made this match for Halloween Havoc. I mean, it's fair to say Dexter Loomis's confusing character. NXT have been pushing him, but failed to get over with the audience. Grimes, however, has been getting over the crowd, have yet to pull the trigger. What were your thoughts on Grimes? And obviously, because my opinion changed on Grimes, what were your opinion on Grimes and Dexter Loomis? Because he's a guy who, he's not been getting that positive reactions.
Well, honestly, I don't know how. It's the weirdest thing. Like I like Dexter Loomis because it's so different. I love the concept of him basically being a stalker / serial killer, but / tortured artist. So like, I like the complexity of all of that, and maybe that's just me, so I don't mind it. But it is weird that he is probably one of the least likable people I've ever seen ever try to be pushed as a babyface. Like it's like what could you really latch on to other than the fact that he's completely different like I did? That's pretty much it. That's the only thing I can give you that's a good babyface quality that he has. And I also don't mind his ring work. It's pretty good, but he also has that arm triangle choke finisher, which is as much as effective as it may be in choking people out. It really is one of the hardest moves to get over, in my opinion, because you're just laying there holding someone in that position. Like, even though you're choking them, it's not an RKO, it's not a Claymore. It's nothing cool to see. You're not gonna get hyped like, "Ooh, I can't wait to watch him do this." It's not really that type of finisher either. So I can't latch on to his move as much. So I really like just how different Loomis is.
I just imagine.
I don't understand why they're trying to do it, but
I just imagine someone saying, like, "Look at those two guys not moving in the ring. That's incredible."
Exactly. And like I said, Cameron Grimes, I already just really liked. He was just his character, his finisher. Now, if you want to, as cool as that finisher is, we can talk about the dynamics of when Cameron Grimes do a standing stomp. Oh, it's death. But Finn Balor jumps all the way. I gotta jump off the top rope, and you got certain guys who kick out of that. So that's I do want to point out that. But that's a small thing, But again, I like Cameron Grimes, and I agree. this thing only helped. But I also want to point out that this thing also helps establish what I already knew about Loomis being a creepy, always watching, like, stalker. Like, he fits the slasher flick monster perfectly, though. That's one thing I'll say. And the only thing he do is look.
Yeah.
Like, not too many people can do that. Just stare at you, and he gets the point across that he's pretty scary. So I will give it that much.
Well, I watched Dexter as well, so I can see what they're trying to go for in that kind of look, And like I said, I'm a fan of it, but you know what people are like sometimes. But like I said, it's the return of the cinematic wrestling as Ryan wanders across a lawn, screaming warnings to Loomis, who we see sitting in a tree again. Sitting in a tree. Cameron enters a house which looks like the place Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt had the House of Horrors match in. He gets spooked by a deer head, and we see Dexter entering behind him. A zombie ref in the corner scares Grimy, and Loomis attacks. Grimes escapes into a bathroom where he sees a woman showering, and of course he's going to look for some sexy time, isn't he? And he's gonna... And unfortunately, he pulls the curtain back to reveal a demon lady. He backs into a window that Loomis grabs him through, and Grimes backs into what he thinks is zombified Caden Carter, looks like. That gets a 2x4. It looks to turn the tide, but then he wanders into a room with multiple demon women. He fights them off and runs to the van to escape, but Loomis is in the driver's seat. And like I said, Loomis doesn't have to do a lot. That just one look when he gets into the van.
Right.
Loomis just stares at him. You're thinking, oh, great. And then he runs off into the night. It looks like this match is going to be continued. What are your thoughts on that so far?
Okay, first of all, they were perfect for this cinematic style. And again, like I just said, Loomis not having to do much, don't have to say anything. Loomis doesn't even have a weapon. He's not even like most slasher flick, monsters who got like Jason has the machete or whatever, the hook that some of them have, whatever it is. He doesn't even have a weapon. He's scary just looking at you. So I will say he fits that perfectly. Cameron did not get consent to try to make his pass at the contortionist demon lady. So I got to give credit. You contortionist women, even anytime I see a contortionist in general, I'm impressed. But man, it looks so creepy.
He did such a great job.
How do you do it? I don't get it. But it worked. It worked perfectly. And I do have to say, this is what I wrote literally in my notes. WTF am I watching? Like, what am I watching? That's really what all I had to say. Like, what is going on?
I mean, like I said, I'm watching this and I'm just so into it. I'm kind of forgetting what I'm watching, but I'm like, this is just so much fun. And Grimes is acting and selling. He did such a fantastic job. I was like, come on, Grimes, because I'm following him. And I go, come, get out of the house. And then when Loomis is there, I'm like, oh. And like it just, again, it hit every note it needed to hit,
Yes, for something that worked so well on levels of letting you root for Cameron and all of that. Like, it definitely wanted, like, you wanted, okay, get out, you got to go, or why you do that? I must say that he, first of all, he got away. Most people in slasher flicks don't. So he achieved a really good standard in the horror world, of course. And I have to say, for something that was supposed to be scary, I found myself laughing and loving, like you said, loving and enjoying this way more than I should have. So I have to give them props, and that's just the first part.
I was going to say, even a to be continued, I was like, yes, there's going to be more of it, as opposed to, they're stopping it there. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, it was great. It was really well done.
All right, so match 3 will continue. So we're on to match 4, and it's Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez. How we got it? Well, for months now, a feud has been brewing between the two most powerful women in NXT, Rhea Ripley and Gonzalez. So as strong as they come, and they clashed in battle royals, they've clashed in tag team matches, but right now it's the first singles encounter. We get a tail of tape. Rhea Ripley's 5'10", of course, using the Riptide. She's a brawler and fearless, and Gonzalez is 6 foot, one-arm powerbombs finisher, aggressive and powerhouse. I mean, the NXT women's division is fantastic. I was really looking forward to this because usually it's the two, they kind of, when you get like two power men going against each other, This time it was about the women. Were you excited for this match beforehand?
Oh yes, definitely. I think you just pointed out something that I wrote in my notes about just loving to see like the bigger women usually fight, more, traditionally sized women or smaller women, in these situations, and we see that match all the time. So when you see we see the two athletic specimen and guys, all the those type of matches. We've had many of those matches. But to get to see this angle of this match, the same way I kind of felt when Charlotte and Bianca Belair were fight, or when Charlotte and Rhea fought at WrestleMania. It's always good to see this type of match when they're just two awesome athletes. You know what I mean? And I also have to commend these ladies also for the match not being slow like you may expect a lot of times when people are the bigger, you expect the match to maybe slow down or kind of be boring, but the pacing and the work rate of those two ladies, man, they really brought it.
Well, without doubt. I mean, the ref had a hard time keeping these two black-clad brawlers apart, and neither woman were getting the upper hand during the early goings on to fight, getting the offense in. They trade slaps in the middle of the ring. Then they get to a clubbing, which was, again, is an awesome scene to see. She sends Dakota Kai's heated to the floor, but her next move gets caught and slammed into the plexiglass fence, which, again, was a really sick move, especially with Ripley's size. You're going, oh, my word, what's going on there,
It was that spot was. I was shocked, and I agree the impact of it when you see, like you said, someone taking that right in the back like that. It was definitely a tough spot, and again something we don't see often in women's wrestling, especially in WWE.
That we'll go to an ad break. When we're back, Gonzalez sets Rhea up for a superplex, but Ripley fights it up. Rhea tries for the riptide from there, but can't hold it. They brawl, and Raquel eventually flips the Nightmare to the mat for the top. That still only gets a 2. Scooped up for a powerbomb. Ripley counters into a head scissors that sends Raquel into the turnbuckles. Riptide follows it, and that is it. I mean, a fantastic closing sequence there as well. A brilliant match. What are your thoughts?
Oh yes, definitely. I really loved just the slugfest that this match was and how physical it was, and also I think the right woman won. And it's just I really want to point this out. I think I tweeted this, but I'm not sure. But it was great to see Rhea in the star making role in this match. We've seen she's established, and she's done pretty much what you need. She's been NXT champion, NXT UK women's champion. She's done everything you could do at this level already. So she's bringing Raquel up to her level and showing what Raquel can do in the ring. And I really like how this match established Gonzalez as more than just Dakota Kai's muscle. It shows that she can go in the ring and, you can give her 10, 15, 20 minutes, and she's capable of putting on entertaining matches. And I found out that they are actually close friends. So that also showed me, explain why they were so smooth, and how you can tell they trusted each other for people that you haven't. Like usually, that's what I like to see, especially in unique matchups when you haven't seen them fight before or work together before. I would like to see like how well do they work together, and when a tandem that hasn't really fought a big program on television before gets together and they have a great chemistry just right off the bat. A lot of times that speaks to their relationship, because we've known that some of the best friends throughout wrestling history can just put on some of the greatest competitive matches. So I think we saw a little bit of that, and I gave this match 3.5 out of 5.
Well, I would agree with you there, and I think Ray wouldn't have taken a powerbomb to somebody she didn't trust, and like you said, it came out in the match. Ripley should be on the main roster. She was ready at WrestleMania against Charlotte, but having her in NXT is still great. Like I said, when two heavyweights are going at it, you just want it. For me personally, I just want move for move. I just want to see going at it. It's a great story of, like we said, Gonzalez's power. I really enjoyed the match. She lost nothing in defeat. I mean, she is still a little green, but Ripley putting a great performance and leading it as well is only going to help her when she moves up to the main roster. You go at 3.5. I'm going to give that 3 3/4 out of 5 because, again, it delivered more than I was expecting,
I agree 100%. I thought it would be pretty good, but was not expecting it to be the roller coaster it became. Like for example, looking at the cards, you couldn't tell me that Santos and Atlas wouldn't be better than this.
Yeah.
Maybe just glancing at the card, but watching the way it went out, they definitely put on a much better performance in my opinion in that match.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. Well, we then see Grimes running down a deserted road to the CWC as we go to a break. And then we get back. Drake Maverick is dressed as Hulk Hogan and Cutler promo is interrupted by Mackenzie Mitchell. He gets caught between the Giant and the Yeti. And then the Shockmaster comes through the curtain. That's Killian Dane, who refuses trip like Drake set it up. They run down all the stuff Drake's planned that he puts on the helmet as Dane laughs at him and he trips over. Well, Drake is fantastic in a ball pairing, but this had a little bit of everything as well, didn't it?
Oh yes, it was great to see. Not only like you said, Drake has established not only in WWE but everywhere Drake has been. He has been able to be hilarious in ways that like I love Drake Maverick. He's always going to be able to crack me up. He's great at it. But to see Killian Dane, to see the references to the Yeti or the Shockmaster references in general, if you're a hardcore fan, in my estimation, especially if you have a knowledge of wrestling, the Shockmaster, just seeing that gear can make me laugh because all I think about is poor John Tenta in that situation. But it was just great. It was great. Even and this is me personally. This is my personal thing. I don't even acknowledge Hulk Hogan as Hulk Hogan anymore. I just call him Terry. So even the fact that Drake can make me laugh dressed like Terry just shows you how much I like Drake Maverick.
I think that is, I think that is the best thing. The thing about Maverick that just makes him so goddamn likable. We then move on to our next. We'll continue our next match, Cameron Grimes versus Dexter Lumis. He's in a up being pursued by the zombie demon girls. He backs into the ring where Lumis slides in behind him. The fog machine is working overtime, and then Dexter's hitting his big moves. A spinebuster ends a brief. Grimes come back and the zombies come to Lumis' side as he enters the ring. One is driven off with a cave-in, but another comes up behind while another, I think it's Casey Cantazzaro, climbs Lumis. And I'd say climb. I can't really do it justice because it looks so freaky, didn't it, you know?
Oh, my goodness. That was anything but just a normal jump on the back. Like, she looked like she was infesting him in a way. Like, that's the way the movement looked. It was that, like, erratic, and it looked gnarly. It definitely looked gnarly.
He then throws onto Grimes. He hits the outside slam and locks in the silence. Dexter Lumis wins, and then zombies crawl towards the unconscious Grimes as Lumis stares into the camera while the end appears in the on the screen. Again, thoughts on this?
I have to say, the only criticism that I have for this entire thing, I just got one question for Cameron Grimes. Why would you go back to the only other place that Dexter would know to find you? You guys work together. So why would you go back to the CWC? Like, if you want to look at it from like from an outsider's point of view, if you're really trying to get away, like, no, you don't go back to the place that set this up in the first place. But anyway, like, I'm just saying, if my workplace sent me to a place that ended up looking like that and Dexter tried to kill me, I'm not going back to work.
I'm going to send a very strongly worded email. That's what I will send about current work conditions.
Exactly. But... Right. Exactly. They may get a subpoena.
I mean...
Right. Yeah. Lawsuit or something like that ain't right.
You know, you're in trouble. But I think the thing...
But I do have... Go ahead.
Well, I was about to say, with Grimes, it made me want to see more of him. I mean, he gave everything he could in that to kind of sell it as, you know, you could have had, like, you talk about a Shockmaster moment, but this was kind of, for a cinematic match, for it to be so silly, Grimes, I think, pulled it in, and I took it seriously because of him, you know?
I agree 100%. He sold it every step of the way, genuinely looked scared. through the entire cinematic process. I really liked it. I gave it 5 out of 5 just for being fun, not really on a match rating basis, but just I enjoyed every second of it. It was just fun through the entire thing. And I just have to say this. I also love the fact that when Dexter won and he stood up and kind of just with the contortionist or the women around him like that, the imagery was just perfect. Like I don't think they know how much he fit that. It's scary how much he fit that role. Like it was perfect. It ended perfectly.
So yeah, I said the match itself was everything that we expected. I'm going to give that a 4.25 out of 5. I know you gave it 5 out of 5. I think it was, like you said, a fantastic sequence and match. You know.
I agree 100%. Definitely. Like I said, it clicked all the bells for me. If you can not only make me laugh and everything can make sense in what was going on, other than a few little things, maybe it's perfect, especially in a cinematic format like that.
I think without a doubt. So we move on, and up next, Ciampa cuts a fantastic promo about facing Dream next week and saying NXT is different. It's not the same as he remembers. I really, really enjoyed Ciampa. Again, is he a guy that should be up on the main roster now, or do you think he just fits NXT well?
First of all, I really also loved he was speaking the truth in that promo. It was really I really really liked it. I was invested in that promo a lot. But do I think I think he's just NXT through and through. I mean, I would love it. Let's just be honest. He deserves it. He's ready for it. He would kill it on either brand if he's allowed to do what he does best. That's the problem with anybody in NXT though right now who comes up. Will they be allowed to do what we have seen that they have proven that they could do on NXT television on the main roster? And that's the problem. Like, cause even as much as I love Tommaso Ciampa now as a character, 1 year on the main roster, he could be completely different. He can just be Ciampa instead of Tommaso Ciampa. What first name? Just Ciampa. And then we're wondering, oh my goodness, what is going on? And now he's Shorty Ciampa or something. It's just like they can just. It's so much that could possibly happen once you go to the main roster. So I think he's perfect for NXT. I think he would kill it if the situation is right. But a lot of things go into the situation being right on the main roster. So I don't know, but I think he definitely would deserve to be on the main roster.
I think without doubt, I think he is a main event player. And speaking of main event, it is the main event next. And it's Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae for the NXT Women's Championship. And how did we get it? Well, Shirai betrayed LeRae on June in 2019 before beating her in a great match at TakeOver Toronto 2. They faced off 2 months later. And then again at TakeOver recently with a new attitude, Candice still come up short. The promo video for the main event were awesome. What are your thoughts on Io Shirai and Candice LeRae before this match?
Just love the history. They're gonna do but they did callbacks in this match to their long history. I think the world of both of these women for completely different reasons. Like Io, like I said once before, badass, cool, just great, just the coolest character for both. Like that's the reason why her heel turn on Candice LeRae really didn't last long at all, because she's so cool that heel turn turned her right back babyface quickly. It didn't take that much long after the program with Candice LeRae to where she was pretty much back being adored by the fans. And Candice LeRae, just first of all, every match she has, she's gonna do something where I'll be like, you know what, she's tougher than me. She's just absolute. She takes unbelievable bumps, as we will get into, and also she's just great. Honestly, I didn't think that this would work in this role. I thought she was perfect as the gutsy babyface who overcomes or who comes just short. I thought she was perfect there, but I think this match proves that she can be good on the other side too. I think she still has a little bit more to prove as far as a heel on NXT television to see how far she can go. But I think this match and just her character in general right now is in a really good place, especially along with Gargano's now as champion.
And I think leading into the main event with Gargano as champion, it made you think, well, hang on a minute here. Maybe it's just written in the
Oh,
stars, you know?
I agree 100%. I think that was the reason why Gargano, not, deep. I'm not saying they don't have any long-term plans for Gargano. Of course, I hope they do. But I believe that's one of the aspects of why he won, because immediately that plants the seed that, okay, Candice LeRae is going to win. And if she doesn't win, wow, what is it going to take?
I think without a doubt, the entrances were great, and of course, Poppy was there for EO's entrance, and then Blackheart's final spin gives us tables, ladders, and scares. So we get into the match, and the champ attacks at the bell and kicks away for the ring, follows with a dive. Candice pulls out a table, but there's a bag on it. She dumps it out, and it's a bloody mannequin body parts, and the Ray's spooked, and EO attacks with some arms. At first, I thought, oh, what's that? Why are they doing it? And then I thought, well, it is table, ladders, and scares. So I suppose it's there in the match title, you know?
Exactly. I misheard Shotzi at first and thought she said tables, ladders, and stairs. So I was just like, "What? They gonna throw? What's that? Why would they go stairs?" So then, when the arm pop up, my fiance told me at the time, no, she said scares, and that was a perfect example that it was supposed to be scared. So yeah, I was confused until the arms popped up, I guess.
Well, we get a ladder come out. The Ray fights free and smashes a laptop in Shia's face. The Poison Pixie sets up a ladder from the desk to the ring. And here comes EO with a chair that she throws in Candice's face. The Ray is driven into the ring steps with knees. And Eugenia Sky gets more chairs. She stops the Candice comeback with one. Then loads up the ring with chairs. Suplex from the champ on the floor as we go to a break. And the ladder is finally set up under the belt by LeRae. But EO cuts off a climb. They broke with EO finally going for a moonsault, but she missed and hit her knees on the chairs that she thrown earlier. Again, the risks that these women were taking, when you consider it's not a takeover and it's just a special episode of NXT and putting the bodies on the line, again, just so enjoyable. We then see Double Knees gets the ladder. Candice sets up early. We see the ladder falling on Shia. Both women are fighting through pain when LeRae climbs and then hits with a palm strike that leaves Candice lifelessly draped over the top. Then rather than climb for the win low, EO sets up two chairs and goes for a superplex. Candice fights up but gets caught in the rope. Shia traps the foot in the chair and twists it again. Really innovative move. I thought that was, I was like, whoa, I don't think I've done that before or haven't seen it in quite a long time,
It was definitely very creative. They were pulling out all the stops. They wanted people to remember this ladder match, and I think they definitely achieved that goal. Because if it's one thing I will remember this match for is the toughness that they exemplified in this match. Like they were like, oh my goodness, they put themselves over as some really tough ladies.
Well, not only that, like I said, Candice then hit the swinging net breaker through the tables. They broke two tables, but for me, I'm thinking, like that's not too bad, but it's a punishment they've taken the rest of the match. You're going, oh, I'm kind of discrediting that a little bit, We then see the hooded figure from the match one roll into the ring and help her up the ladder. But here comes Shotzi. She takes out the Scream Mask Intruder. The two ladders are set up and they're both up. Candice bites the champ's fingers, sent to the mat. At that point, I thought, oh, here comes Candice. But EO pushes the ladder over and sends her crashing through the ladder set up across the table earlier.
Ooh.
It looks like she goes knee first into it. I just put here, oh my God. Just,
oh my man.
What the fuck? Do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't believe it.
Hey, between that suplex on the chair, the suplex on the chair, like you said, it make a table bump. Some of the stuff they did, the moonsault onto the chairs, make the table bump seem like it wasn't nothing, and just going through the ladder towards the end. Like I said, there's no way I can come out of this match without giving Candice LeRae her props for just being tough as hell. Like that is unbelievable. That spot at the end was yeah. like you said, we may think it was an NXT episode, no one told these two ladies that it wasn't a takeover because they went for it.
Someone ring the police because they've just stolen the show there. I tell you that. It was unbelievable. I mean, like we talked about, EO is so cool, but so consistent. And this feud kind of reminds me of Jerry Lynn and RVD, you know, when one person usually came out on top, but it was just the chemistry and the delivering of great, great matches. I mean, what a match. You talk about a takeover-worthy main event. This was it, wasn't it, you know?
I agree 100%. It was definitely main event worthy. You know, again, I'm not a Halloween person, but they put a lot of effort in the ladder. I like the uniqueness of the ladder color. I think it was like a chalk outline on the table that kind of cracked me up. They were doing what they did, they really did try to fit that aesthetic. So I love that. But like, man, there's no way you can come from that match and not just say those ladies are too. Not on. First of all, this place is, in my opinion, like matches like this should show you why EO is, like, a lot of people are saying she's the best in the world right now. And I'm not saying she is, I'm not saying she isn't, but I understand that sentiment because of stuff like this. Like you said, she's unbelievably consistent. She's deserving, and that's the reason why, honestly, I believe that Candice hasn't prevailed. It's just like it's almost like you're going against this overwhelming force, if you see what I'm saying. In a way, you know, I watch a lot of New Japan, so it reminds me kind of like when Okada wrestles. Like, yeah, Okada may lose here, may lose there, but you know, at the end, ultimately, especially since like 2012, he's gonna prevail. And that's what EO does champion now reminds me of. Like, yeah, it may look tough, she may have the odds against her, but she will still find a way to moonsault you and win that match, or, you know, prevail at the end, like in this match. So it was just great. It was unbelievable. I gave it 4.5 out of 5, but really, honestly, I can make it 5 out of 5, and I wouldn't feel bad. I'm trying to remember what I took the half off for. The more now that I think back on it, it was just that good. Like, it was perfect. It was close to a perfect match as you can get. Okay, yeah. Again, I didn't like. See, I don't know if that was the guy who helped Gargano or actually Gargano this time, because the way he picked up Candice, he didn't seem as big as the first guy, but I don't remember. I don't know for sure, so I'm just assuming. But either way, I didn't really care for that inclusion. And I'm sorry, my bias as a Damian Priest fan is why it's 4.5. I'm so mad that Shotzi decided to help EO. But she didn't. Where were you, Shotzi? Come on, man. Where were you when the brother, you know, messed up Priest? I'm not. Now, again, that person seemed bigger, so I don't know. I don't think she's gonna electric chair the 6'3" guy or whatever he was. But still, like, where is it? I need the inclusion. Don't help out EO. Maybe she learned from what happened to Damien, so that's why she helped EO. But still, I'm just saying, it would have been nice.
No, I completely get your point, but I feel, you know, even with Shotzi's interference, and even remembering now, like the black and orange ladders, just everything, the cold setting, it was just kind of, you know, perfect the way it ended. So, like I said, the match, it will be our match of the night. I don't think there's any doubt about it. What were your thoughts on Shotzi as a host? Do you think she did a good enough job? Did they give her enough to do?
I think I would have liked to see more involvement. It would have been even better if she would have had her own little, maybe not cinematic, but maybe backstage thing going on with something. But honestly, she did do what she was meant to do, and it was perfect. Like her aesthetic, everything about it, her actions, the way she fit that host theme perfectly. And I must have to say this, she was definitely something like, oh my goodness, she was killing it. Like, she was styling in those costumes. Like, this was like real, like, I don't know if you ever watch like award shows, the host a lot of times just they have different outfits for every time they're gonna come out to introduce something, and that's what it felt like, but in a, you know, Halloween creepy kind of way that fits Shotzi so perfect. It was just great. It was really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can always use more shots at Blackheart.
Well, I think, if overall, if we're looking at kind of our match for the night is going to be the ladder match, of course, the main event. The man or woman of the night, I'm going to have to give it to Cameron Grimes because, like I said, I've not been a huge fan of his stuff, but it made me want to check out more of him and see what he's up to because he, like I said, I was on his side during the whole thing, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do in the future as well.
I agree 100% with that. It's hard for me not to give it to EO or Candice or like just both ladies for surviving, much less putting on that show. The fact that, as a matter of fact, that's what I'll say. The fact that both of those ladies not only gave us that classic match, but survived unscathed that I know of so far, you have to give those girls another, whatever you want to say, round of applause, credit, whatever it is. You have to give it to them. They deserve it.
I think without a doubt. And I mean, we talk about a rating out of 2. NXT has put on a takeover worthy show to beat AEW, but they used the women's division, which is the strongest in wrestling, and undercard guys on this show. There wasn't kind of massive main event talent, but the way it worked was brilliant. I mean, NXT's problem has been, like I said, long-term booking with the injuries. Let's hope Balor can return. Obviously, with Cross, and they can build the men's singles and tag team division as well. But in my eyes, with this event, I mean, what a main event. It was better for that it take over 30 and 31, just because I think with this, the main event truly delivered. And as a show from about Halloween, there was nothing wrong with it. I've watched this show twice in its entirety, and I probably will watch it this time next year. That's how great I think this show was. So I'm going to give it a 9.25 out of 10.
Oh man, what a great rating. That's perfect. You know what? I will have to agree. I may have to stick more at 9, but definitely with your overall explanation, oh man, it was perfect as far as the theme within the context of winning. Like you said, if you could watch it again on Halloween, it would fit perfectly. It was an all around perfect show. Honestly, this is, and I'm not trying to say I'm just some great Nostradamus or like whatever psychic, but honestly, it's after I watched that show, because I watched it all the way through and live that night, I knew it would win the ratings. And I had only watched a little bit of AEW at that point. And the only reason why is because that was the first time watching it live where I was watching NXT and they hooked me through multiple commercial breaks to where I was like, I'm not worried about what's on AEW. I'll watch it because I was recording it, if you see what I mean. Yeah. So I have to give NXT that props because they put a complete cohesive show that made me want to see, okay, what are they going to do next? And it was just perfect in from that retrospect. So I have to agree. I give it more of a 9 out of 10, but I agree with your takeaway that it fit perfectly and it flowed well, and it was in the main event. Come on, that main event you could put it up against many other classic matches in NXT history, and I think it'll hold its own with those matches. So yeah, I like it. I like that. It was really, really good show.
I think without a shadow of a doubt. And like you mentioned, the ratings as well. Well, for the first time in several weeks, NXT did score a ratings victory over Dynamite. Brian Alvarez said that Dynamite averaged 781,000 viewers during its 2-hour show, and NXT got 876,000 viewers. Of course, Dynamite was the second to last episode prior to Full Gear pay-per-view. Of course, a lot took place there. But I think it's no surprise. Finally, do you think, because a lot of times back in the day with WCW and WWE, WCW were putting on a lot of big shows at that time to try and win the ratings for that week, as opposed to WWF was trying to go along with their story and just trying to build that. Is that a case with NXT and AEW at the moment, where AEW are just going about their business and NXT have to, like a Great American Bash or Halloween Havoc, have to put these great shows? Is that a problem, or is it not? Because if we're getting great shows, then what's the problem? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are your thoughts?
I think barring maybe some injuries in certain situations, the difference here is I don't think NXT is putting on these shows just for the sake of it storyline wise. Like most of the time, other than maybe like we said, I think we both talked about NXT Takeover 30, the last one before this one. We talked about that kind of seeming rushed at the time and all of that, but I still don't believe any of the stories were lost in that. WCW lost a lot. Like, not only were they trying to put on the bigger shows, their entire mid to undercard was basically completely glossed over for a while, within that. So that's another mistake they made along with it. I think NXT are trying to put on big shows, but they're staying within their stories for the most part, barring like, the injuries. Or another thing that AEW just don't have to deal with is call-ups. For the big part of this battle weekly, Keith Lee and people like Keith Lee, Mia Yim, these people were on NXT, going to war against AEW, and now they're on the main roster. Matt Riddle, they're on the main roster now, and that's something that AEW don't have to deal with. So you do have to always take that into account too when thinking about what NXT decides to do to combat Dynamite. But I do agree, some of that is definitely going on because it seems like AEW is more of like in the slow burn storytelling. They like the slow burn theirs a lot more than so far what NXT likes to do.
Yeah, I think without a doubt. We do ask everybody what was the better show, and NXT actually won the poll. I think it's the first time in about 3 months that NXT has actually won the poll, 54% to 46%. A couple of comments. Amish Man says NXT is put on a pay-per-view level event in order to beat AEW, but so what? We really enjoyed it. Nikki Fan Forever said NXT, but AEW was also good. At WrestleBuzz, so I felt like people vote before they watch both. I think that's true because AEW has won a lot recently. And at Hal Rouse says NXT was not better. Come on, the card was weak compared to AEW. That is what I'm talking about. Like I said, we love your comments, but it's a difference of opinion. Halloween Havoc smashed it out of the park this week. I don't think there's any doubt about it. So
and I also
go
on. That I do not think that we always have to jump on the just because one put on a better show this week, that means that whatever assertion that most people want to make, if you see what I'm saying. Like, that's not always the case. You can still enjoy the show even if the viewership was lower this week. Like, at the end of the day, like you said, the most important thing is we get two very high quality wrestling shows on the same night that at the end of the day, as wrestling fans, we all can sit back and enjoy. So we all win, honestly, even when the ratings come out. It's all a victory for us. Wrestling hasn't been this hot. If you remember the late 2000s to early 2010s period of wrestling, trust me, this is just beautiful for you. What's going on now? I remember those days when you were just forced to watch whatever, they vomited out there. We got more alternatives now. Like, wrestling is killing it. So we should just love the fact that millions of people are, coming together to watch wrestling, no matter what brand it is, throughout the week on Wednesdays now.
Yeah.
So
I think
to get that out.
No, I think that's a great kind of final point. He said with the WNR, we do both as well. Our next episode is going to be AEW Full Gear, joined by the Ultimate One. But that is it for today. Don't forget, across all social media, on Twitter, at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR JR. Our follower is at Fullerton Hakeem. On Twitter, do you want to plug your Twitter quickly?
Yes, at Mind Monty Pod. I'm Monty G from the Mind and Monty Podcast. Give us a listen. We discuss the main roster, AEW, NXT, and New Japan Pro Wrestling, while also giving you a little bit of a taste inside the life of a graduate student who is struggling with trying to not lose his mind. I think that's entertaining stuff right there. Anyway, thank you guys. And check me out if you ever get a chance.
Without a shadow of a doubt, check them out. Really, really good stuff. We're across all the Google platforms. You can send us an email, the Podcast at gmail.com. We're on YouTube, Podcast, all the latest clips. Podcast got the same time on YouTube as they do SoundCloud on your phone. Also Stitcher and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that's it. Like I said, our next episode is AEW Full Gear with the Ultimate One. Today, I was joined by Amanda Monty. Are you up for coming back for NXT TakeOver War Games?
Oh, definitely. I just let me know and we can connect and definitely do a review. I would love to join.
Well, it's been fantastic having you on today. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I've had a blast, and everybody listening as well. I'd just like to say thank you, everybody, and bye.
Adios.